I can imagine a convocation back in Noah's time. Noah's been preaching that God's going to destroy the world with a flood. And so they decide they better at least have a convocation about it, find out whether this calamity howler is telling the truth or not. And so I can see up on the dais they have three very important people. Up there they have a scientist, Dr. Francis Formaldehyde. And then up there they also have a philosopher, Dr. Flavius Fluffyhead. And up there also they have a minister, a cleric, Dr. Ernest Eartickler. And they're up there on the platform and they're having a symposium to find out whether or not the flood is going to come. And so first of all they ask this eminent scientist, Dr. Francis Formaldehyde, Dr. Formaldehyde, will there be a flood? And he says, well, science cannot speak to these things. You know, we only deal with empirical proof. But I can tell you that since the time that we have measured history, there has never been a break in the reign of natural law. So, from a scientific point of view, I would say that it's very doubtful that we'll have this kind of a flood. Well, people are feeling a little better. And so then they ask Dr. Flavius Fluffyhead. Now, Dr. Fluffyhead, he's a finger bumper. And he sits there and he just smiles benignly and he says, well, philosophy deals with these areas where science cannot. But let me say philosophically that it would seem to me from a philosophical point of view that if there is a God, and if this God did create this world, and if he did create these people, it would the same God who created them knows their weaknesses and their proclivities, and that's the way he made them, and he certainly would not destroy his work if indeed he did such a thing. Philosophically, I would say, no, I don't believe there will be a flood. And then they call upon the Reverend to talk. Dr. Ernest Eartickler. Well, Dr. Eartickler, you have been off to the seminary and you have studied and you've poured through the realms of knowledge. Tell us, Dr. Eartickler, will there be a flood? Now, he's not as dispassionate as the scientists or the philosophers. As a matter of fact, he's downright angry. He's red in the face. He points a finger at God's man, at Noah. And he says, this unlettered, uneducated, unseminary trained religious fanatic has slandered the character of God. Doesn't he know that God is love? And does he think that a loving God would bring judgment? I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if Noah did happen to hear something about a flood, it was not literal water. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be.